Hello, everybody, and welcome to the rundown. I know an hour, more like 12 hours late, but let's get into it and take a look at this week in liturgy. First off, nothing too crazy. The fifth Sunday of Lent this Sunday. Tuesday, we have a commemoration of a saint. That's the only saint this week, but on Thursday, we have another solemnity, the solemnity of the Annunciation of the Lord. That means that you can break all your Lenten stuff again if you want to, just like you could have this past Friday for the Solemnity of St. Joseph. But this Friday, we are back to eating no meat, as is the norms here in the United States. This next Sunday, we do have Palm Sunday, so I got a little palm tree thingamajig there for you. So looking forward to that as we head into Holy Week, as we round out March and head into April. Let's take a look at the weather this week. We had a pretty eventful weather outbreak this week, tornado outbreak throughout the southern United States. We had several tornadoes, 4 EF2s, none of them higher than EF2, thankfully. However, we did have the first SPC high risk outlook since May 20th, 2019 on my birthday. And so, it happened. We had a tornado outbreak, and they forecasted a tornado outbreak, and only the sixth 45% chance plus significant tornado risk on record. And again, we had 4 significant tornadoes. So the forecast did pretty well from the Storm Prediction Center. So can't complain about that. Nothing too crazy this upcoming week in terms of severe weather. Winter weather, on Tuesday, we could see some snow in the northern plains. As it stands right now, tropical weather. We do have an invest currently south of India in the southern Indian Ocean. It does appear that there's a moderate chance of formation with another system by Tuesday north of Australia, but nothing too crazy there. That invest has a low chance of formation as well. So nothing too crazy, no major storm impacts the land at this point. For Columbus, we're looking at mid-60s generally for the high through Wednesday. We could see some rain mainly on Thursday, but other days throughout the week as well. Again, more rain coming next weekend. So Columbus is going to see quite the amount of spring showers before we even get to April showers. But happy spring to everybody watching this upcoming week. We also are going to be around 30 Thursday and Friday, or around 60, not 30, Thursday and Friday, and then we'll be in the low 60s for next week. And as for Norman, we're going to be 70 the rest of this weekend. We'll be down to 60 and rainy on Monday. It's going to be a pretty rough day, especially compared to today's sunny and 70. It's definitely going to be not the best ever weather for being outside. We're going to be in the low 60s most of the week, so think like how it was on Wednesday or Thursday, I want to say, this past week. And then we're going to be back into the 70s Friday and Saturday, perhaps dipping below that by the time we get to next Sunday. Let's talk U.S. news and sports. We have two very different things. First, March Madness, then we're going to talk about some of the racial issues in America and really throughout the world, but I think it warrants discussion. So we'll get to that here in a second. March Madness, a biggest upset, obviously, Oral Roberts beating Ohio State in overtime. North Texas beating Purdue in overtime. Ohio upset Virginia in regulation earlier tonight. There were 7 perfect brackets before that Ohio upset. Then there were only 3 remaining. And then earlier tonight, we saw Maryland upset number 7, UConn. And now there are 0 perfect brackets remaining, at least from the online Yahoo and ESPN sources. We did also see Oregon beat VCU by default, probably due to COVID issues, would be my guess. And Oklahoma just barely got off that win from Missouri. That Florida-Virginia Tech game was also a very close game that went into overtime. That was a fun one to watch as well. So definitely March Madness. Getting pretty mad. Now, if you paid attention to the news at all in the past several weeks, we know that there has been a lot of racial issues and hatred not only, of course, as it unfortunately has been for a while, towards the African American community, but more recently, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, towards the Asian American community and Asians in general, not necessarily just Asian Americans. But this week we saw 8 people die in Atlanta, Georgia, in spa shootings by one guy, killed 6 Asian women. So, it doesn't matter if it was his sexual motive that he was killing women or a racial motive that he was killing Asians or a combination of the two. It's still not good. And in San Francisco, we've seen anti-Asian attacks, and there's no need for this. I mean, we shouldn't be blaming anything on a regular person like you and I. The only difference is, their skin color. That's literally the only difference. We can't blame somebody for COVID-19 or for our sufferings in life. It doesn't even make sense. But that's my 2 cents. I hope it's your 2 cents as well. And it's really unfortunate. And outside of the Asian American recent racial issues in America, we had the Norman High School girls basketball announcer use the N-word while broadcasting or whatever it was. And that's like right here where I'm at for college. And, that's just unfortunate, and it's worse than unfortunate, but that people can be that ignorant of other people. And I wish there was an easy way to deal with it, but people are bad people. Some people are bad people. We see that in the church. I don't have this on a slide this week, but an archbishop in Germany resigned because of issues. Canada's releasing clergy lists of sexual issues. The priest who said mass for Biden's inauguration is under investigation as well. So there's so many problems with humanity, and humanity is sinful by its very nature, and it's just a matter of what we can do to be the best persons we individually can be and influence others to be the best persons they can be. And that goes for probably the most prominent family in the world, the royal family. And I don't like talking about the royal family because it's like talking about the Kardashians. Nobody really cares. But when something comes out, truthful or not, whether or not it's true or not, that a member of the royal family took an issue with the color of the skin of one of their family members, that's obviously unacceptable. So I hope I didn't beat the horse too dead here, but we're going to continue on. Just keep that. It's just something we need to work on as a society. Maybe not you personally. Hopefully not you personally. Hopefully not me personally. But as a society, it's something we need to work on. Let's move on to COVID-19, which we don't blame the Asians or Chinese people or anything for that for. It's just what it is. It's a disease. It's a virus. So you can't blame somebody for it, except for perhaps the government for their lack of action. But that's beside the point. We're the World Health Organization. We can blame those people all day as long as we aren't discriminating against people for that. Even if it is actually their fault, we can't discriminate against people for that. Cumulative cases, normal stuff here. Cumulative deaths, normal stuff. No major changes if looking at the trend lines in the past week. So that's good news. Again, no hospitalization data due to the COVID tracking project shutting down. Daily vaccinations above 1,000 in New Mexico, fairly high in several other states as well. We do notice in like New Mexico, Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, there's a rapid increase and then it levels off for a bit, and then a rapid decrease, and then it starts continuing a gradual uptick. Ohio's probably one of the most constant upticks of all of the states. So, is that good? Is that bad? Who knows? But the good news is it looks like everybody's moving up, which means everybody's administering more and more vaccines. In terms of variant, we're up to 49 states, every one but Oklahoma, at that United Kingdom variant of the vaccine, that's like the second week I've done that, at least, of COVID-19 variant. Over 5,000 cases. The South African variant now in 26 states. I believe that's 3 states more than the previous week. About 70 more cases as well than last week. As for Brazil, we're up. We gained several cases this week. I want to say 30 new cases, now up to 15 states as well. So that is of note. U.S. infections over time, we do see that we went up a little bit last week, but the projection has us continuing downward. So hopefully it stays that way, but I'm not sure how actualized that projection will be. In terms of people vaccinated per 100,000, we see a pretty steady increase, or per 100. You see New Mexico leading the way with 32.3. Nearly a third of their population has the vaccine, the first dose of the vaccine. North and South Dakota also leading the way, as well as Connecticut. Let's not forget about Connecticut, also above that 28% mark, and Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And moving on to the fully vaccinated people, again, the same general states lead the way. New Mexico kicking everybody's butt, 19.4. That's 19% of their population is fully vaccinated. Vaccination report throughout the United States, we're at 24% of the population with one dose. Age 65 plus at 68%. In terms of fully vaccinated people, 40% of the population over age 65 is fully vaccinated now. We're at 1/8, I believe, is what 16.7 is, of people that are adults, and 13% of the entire U.S. population. And the total distributed is somewhere between 24 and 47%. And we're at 150 million doses so far, which equates to, if it's 2 doses per person, 75 million people, which is a decent amount, 25% of the population. So that's pretty big. Worldwide, the cases have went up around 500,000 in the previous week. Several countries not doing well at all with this. Worldwide recoveries are nearing that million mark, though. So that's good news. But France, Brazil, Belgium, Italy, all moving their way up. India joined the top 10 this week, jumping into the 8th slot in its first week. Spain continues to fall. It fell 3 slots last week. Now it's all the way down to number 15. So that'll end our coverage on Spain unless something crazy happens there. In terms of the United States, we're doing pretty good. We lost 200,000 cases in the past week, so that's good. Of course, the death toll is still very high. California has been relatively constant. New York and Florida fell. Virginia, Maryland, and Kentucky continue moving up in terms of their number of cases. South Carolina fell off the list because we lost their recovery data. Sometimes they don't report. South Carolina has been having several problems with that. And New Jersey actually moved up despite losing like 20,000 cases as a result of that South Carolina thing. Moving on to the U.S. Catholic news, only one thing, nothing too crazy. Massachusetts polygamy. Cambridge, Massachusetts has joined Somerville, Massachusetts, changing the definition of domestic partnerships to 2 or more people. The president of the Ethics and Public Policy Center says, quote, "Of course, it was never going to stop with same-sex couples. Once you redefine marriage to eliminate the male-female component, what principle requires monogamy?" That's pretty basic right there. Fully agree with that statement. So it's just going to keep on getting worse, and we have to stand by our true faith as Catholics. Speaking of our true faith as Catholics, Pope Francis releasing a responsum to a dubium, a response to a doubt, in English is how we would say that, on same-sex blessings. We're also going to talk about abortion in Northern Ireland. Let's talk about that dubium first. I encourage you to go to the Vatican press office, go to, I want to say March 15th, click on the responsum to the dubium, and read the article for yourself. I also send it out on the text alerts at OhioWX 3 to 81010 or at SoonerWX to 81010 if you want that information right away. But I very much encourage reading the full article. Now, it talks about how blessings are sacramentals and sacramentals resemble the sacraments, like holy water is a sacramental, obviously resembling baptism. So if we extrapolate that out, blessings resemble the sacraments because they are sacramentals. So a same-sex blessing or a blessing of any sexual relationship outside of marriage, be it heterosexual, homosexual, whatever you want, you can't have that sort of blessing because it resembles a sacrament, and that's not a sacrament in the church. In that restriction, quote, is not therefore and is not intended to be a form of unjust discrimination, but rather a reminder of the truth of the liturgical rite, i.e. Marriage, and of the very nature of sacramentals, i.e. resembling sacraments. So pretty straightforward description there from the Vatican of why they're going about this reasonings. Blessings, however, may be given to individual persons who have homosexual inclinations because they're still human beings. They're still loved by God. They're still deserving of God's graces and blessings. They can still receive the sacraments so long as they manifest the will to live chastely in accord with the norms of the church. So, that's just like me. As an unmarried man, I cannot go around doing whatever I want sexually. I can't do that. Similarly, if you want to have sex with a person of the same sex as you, you can't do that. If you want to have sex outside of marriage, you can't do that to be within the graces of the church. And so that completely makes sense. However, you can still receive blessings and hopefully be brought to the fullness of the church in love with God. And speaking of that, the article concludes that God does not and cannot bless sin. However, he blesses sinful man so that he can be drawn into love with himself, himself being God. So this, of course, is a very good explanation from the Vatican. Pope Francis, very well done, fantastic. I encourage you to read it for yourself. Upholding Catholic teaching, nothing changed by the release of this dubium. Everything stayed exactly the same. No new teachings were applied here. In terms of abortion in Northern Ireland has not commissioned full abortion services like the UK told them to do last March. And so the UK is getting mad at them for doing that. Of course, as Catholics, good for Northern Ireland. But the UK, the current laws of the UK state that elective abortion is available up to 12 weeks. And then from 12 to 24, if the mother's health is at risk. And then there's no limit if there is a fetal abnormality, but that's in the process of being removed from the law. That exception is being removed, hopefully, and it passed Assembly with a vote of 48 to 12. So some mixed good and bad news coming from the United Kingdom, specifically Northern Ireland, this past week. That's been all for the rundown. I have been Chris Dixon, InfoWeather, Catholic Media. See you guys next week.